It hasn't been giving that recording in progress. Yeah, but it's recorded.
Is it turned up line?
It should be. That's the right one.
No, you just confirm shutdown.
Oh, oops.
Cancel.
Right, I think we're good.
We're ready? Okay. Oh, more county commission order and so pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first thing on the agenda is our public comment, and it's a chance for the public to speak to the board. Just, there's a 3-minute time limit. We'll start, first we go with anybody in the room. We go on Zoom. Is there anybody in the room that wants to make a public comment? Is there anybody on Zoom that would like to make a public comment? Please raise your hand. Okay. Seeing none, we'll go on to consideration of adoption of agenda.
Chair, if I could ask the board for consideration, I dropped a packet on here. We need to do a follow-up action on the sole source determination for the sheriff's office body and vehicle camera system. Generally, I wouldn't ask for this to be added on, but the board already considered this matter on May 5th, 2025, and this is just a follow-up for the sole source determination and the probe test period that was required. So I would ask that this be added on to the business items, and we can just get this taken care of and approved, if that's all right.
Okay, any objections from the board to do that? Okay, do I hear a motion to accept it with that addition?
I move to accept the agenda as presented with the addition that Administrator Jensen suggested.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next up is consent agenda. We got one item. To pull that item out, or are you good with having consent?
I move for approval of the consent agenda.
I second.
Moved and second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Consent agenda. Next up is our business items, consideration of Fairgrounds capital improvement grant funds. Matthew Johnson, that's the girl, and Sue Gibbs. Matt, who's going? I was leaving this. I think
Okay.
it's soon anyway.
Fair Board Chair and Sue, if you wouldn't mind
Sure.
sitting up, and Vincent, I can pull chair up. The essence of this request was that we received well, twofold. First off, we were looking to do to get the RFP going for the fairground improvement project that has been a little bit in limbo. That we have $1,277,777 that were received through state grants for improvements to the fairgrounds. Right when I first came in, there was a feasibility study being done for improvements on the annex section of the large building where the kitchen area is and such, for the 4-H kitchen, and the dorm building, which is the restroom facility just towards the creek from the big exhibit hall, which needs to be redone. The restrooms are in bad shape, and the dorm area is pretty just Spartan. As the feasibility study went, there was direction to look at the dance hall area and do some improvements there. We have that design. It was included in this packet. But the gist of this is that the almost $1.3 million that were done, we've only spent about $55,000 of that on the initial feasibility study. And our good Fair Board and Fair staff have brought up several other capital projects that could be very operationally important to keep the fairground going. And one of the ones that just came up was an opportunity to have Silver Creek construction donate labor for the sheep show ring structure. Currently, we rent a tent that goes through there. It's quite expensive each year to do that, have a tent person come and put that up just for a couple days. And we've talked about getting something more permanent in there to protect the participants, the audience, and the sheep as they are shown during the fair. And during the off time, it can be used as a covered area for activities and such. This was accelerated. Michael Duncan is here from Silver Creek, looking forward to doing that. And they're excited about that. When I met with them, I thought that there might be a sole source opportunity there. As we reviewed the procurement with finance director, it was shown that we can't do sole source for that type of opportunity. And so what we're here today for is kind of twofold. And first is to request authorization to use some of that $1.277 million for the sheep show ring structure, which we believe the structural parts, and that will be about $30,000. We would put that out for a regular bid process to follow procurement policies, but yeah, I mean, Silver Creek, if they're donating labor, they will likely come in low bid. And so we could do that fairly quickly. The other thing, though, is since it's been a bit of time since that feasibility study was completed, was just to meet with staff and the current fair board to identify other capital projects that might reallocate money to dedicate it to make sure it's operational. The annex and the dorm building, definitely. The commercial kitchen, definitely. The improvements to the exhibit hall, which would make it look really nice, is just kind of aesthetic in my mind. And it would be really nice, but we've got a sheep barn that has bad roof. We've got a small animals facility that's more or less just a carport. And so there's other things that we could do with this money that would have a very operational impact. And so we're asking for some consideration with BOC where we could go identify some other projects and come back with you with a list of things we'd like to accomplish with the remaining amount of that state grant funds. To that end, we have the fair board representative, got our fair manager and Vincent, who oversees the fair here. If you have any questions or concerns before we make those considerations.
No, it looks like you guys are unanimous on your idea on how this is the right thing to do, right?
Well, I really like the idea of this shed. We've brought up that idea before, but just the cost of it. But when Mike, I'll let him, if that's okay, explain the actual engineering of this project and how it could really help us and save us about between $4,000 and $6,000 every year. So it would pay for itself very quickly. And so when he brought this up, I thought, maybe we need to do that, put this over some of the other projects. So Mike, why don't you go ahead and describe?
So it's a single slope shed roof. We've been doing it, I'll scoot up there so they can see me. A single slope shed roof. We've been doing this for Beef Northwest out at their feedlot for livestock shade. The thermals of a single slope upland to a lot cooler underneath than a typical traditional peak roof. So it's an open side. All it is a shade structure, steel framed. The reason Silver Creek is looking at donating all the labor is because of the name of the shed, and that hadn't been brought up yet. But the original proposed idea by the Extension Service and the Fair Board was it would be named the Mitch and Tag Ashbeck Show Arena. So for their years of contribution to the programs here. So that is my tie to that, both in appreciation of them and then also some of the family ties, obviously. So the only question I have is submitting it to the bid process. I know you guys are under constraints with that. Does that what does that timeline look like?
So what we're hoping to do is we kind of talked that this is a fairly simple structure. Expect that out. We're hoping to get that, if approved by the BOC, we'd love to have that bid posted by tomorrow. It'd be a 2-week period. And then we'd open it, due to the size of the amount. We'd be looking at your approval to kind of give us a threshold for it. And if it was underneath that, I could just, sign on that contract and get them started very quickly.
So I've already got an engineer on board, Ron McInnes. Most of you probably know him from Boardman. He's agreed to do the structural design on this, as the East Northwest structures are ag exempt. So we'll have to go through that hoop, and I'll have to submit it for building permit. Our hope is that this thing is out before fair this year. So that is our goal. That's why the expedited all this stuff.
Well, the one thing I would make is a comment. I think we could add it to one, thank you to one more thing you're doing in our community. You know, and we really appreciate these things, you know, it just makes us better, stretches the dollars, makes it better. So that's my thought. I really appreciate there's other things you've been doing, but so.
Thanks for
It
noticing.
makes it, yeah, they're getting some more bang for our buck out of what you're doing. So that's,
Well, selfishly, I've got several kids that use it too.
that's okay. That's okay. Yeah. That's all I promised I got, and somebody else does. But they,
No.
of course, it's good.
So I'll move to authorize staff to pursue project consideration of a sheep show ring structure using up to $30,000 state grant funds for capital improvements, and authorize the county administrator to execute necessary contracts within those funding limits.
I second that.
Moved and seconded, including discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. We have a second one.
So I'll move to authorize staff and fair board to review critical capital needs and present options for utilization of state grant funds for capital improvements.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, any further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Well, thank you guys for your
Thank you.
cooperation and group effort on this, it's really help our. fair.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Do you need specific specs to put out for a listing on advertising?
Yeah, I'll be reaching out to you after this meeting. That's
Okay.
okay, Mike.
Yep, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up would be our added, item on the business, we have, I guess, you already kind of, you want to give another, very told us what it is.
For the record, I'd like
Okay.
to do it. We've add this on, the original consideration was presented by Finance Director on May 5th, 2025. As a sole source determination, the VOC approved this. This is for Sheriff's Office, body and vehicle camera system. The amount of this is about $280,000 over several years. It's a yearly contract on that, plus the equipment purchase and leasing and such. You approved the sole source determination, but there was a notice of protest that had to be posted. That was posted. No notice protests were came in, and so we were asking for consideration of the BOC to continue and finalize this procurement action as we look to get this taken care of in this fiscal year. So the proposed motions would be a motion to authorize Sheriff Bowles to sign and accept the offer by Utility Inc. And then a motion to approve contract with Utility Inc. and authorize county administrator to sign the client service agreement with Utility.
Okay, questions of that on this?
I mean, we discussed it before, so
Okay, so, anybody want to make that motion one?
I move to authorize Sheriff Bowles to sign and accept the offer by Utility Inc. as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded, any further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Motion two,
I move to approve contract with Utility Inc. and authorize the county administrator to sign the client services agreement with Utility Inc. as presented.
Second.
moved and seconded, any further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, that concludes our business items, now we're gonna move into executive session. And that will be. One County Board of Commissioners will now meet executive session pursuant to ORS 192. 028, which allows the commission to meet in executive session to consult and counsel concerning the legal rights of duties in the public. Regarding currently the issue of elimination. Representatives of the news media and the designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on or otherwise disclose any of the deliberations or anything said about these subjects during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session and welcome the audience back into the. And there, for the public to know, there is a potential for a decision or action as a result of the executive session. So with that, we'll.
We do have a member of the media online. We will be having someone log in and present via Zoom. And so we'll keep the media per state requirements.
We're coming out of executive session into open session. There will be no action taken.
Have you admitted everybody yet? Miller?
Just getting a city
Oh.
ordinance.
Yeah, I just want to make sure before you said that.
Okay, they're in now.
Okay. We're coming out of executive session into open session. There will be no action by the BLC. And so with that, is there any other business with the board? If not, I will call the meeting adjourned.